Hey, it's 10 a.m., so it must be time for Odd Musings. Waiting on Scott to join me here. I haven't heard from him yet, so I assume he's having either some work issues or some technical issues getting online, like we seem to have every week because the internet is just all messed up anymore. So welcome, guys. We're going to be talking a little bit about Secrets of Dumbledore today. Get you up on some Moon Knight and whatever fun stuff we want to have today. But I'm going to start off with a little ad read today. So start off with Loringer Family Chiropractic Center, PC, and they are located in Belleville, Michigan, and Dexter, Michigan, and take great pride in providing the finest chiropractic care to each and every patient, offering on-site digital X-rays, massage therapy, orthotics by foot levelers, young living essential oils, aromatherapy, full line of vitamins, all in a family-oriented environment. Give them a call, 734-697-4244. We have a link at iMusings for you, as well as the Facebook page here is at Loringer Family Chiro. You can see them right there. I see Scott's joined us. Hey, Scott.
Hey, how are you?
Good. Just trying to get some ad reads out. Figure you might be on a call or something.
Yep. Keep me busy, so that's a good thing.
Oh, and then besides Loringer Family Chiro, since he's already got it up, go ahead, Scott.
Team Titans Real Estate. Why? Because you matter. That's right. Jill Webler and I, we always keep our focus on our relationship with our clients. Yes, we utilize the modern day technologies, tools, social media, all that fun stuff. But your personal goals and needs can make a difference in how things are handled, with whether it's the listing of your house or how we do searches for your home. So give us a call. 586-232-5144 is our Team Titans hotline. And, things definitely are moving, picking up. Easter is now behind us. And now we're starting to move towards that next phase where things start picking up. A lot of houses start getting on the market. And then the next surge will be once school gets out here. So, give us a call. We want to help you out. And keep in mind, even if you don't have real estate needs, somebody you know does. So we love referrals. So just remember, a realtor, tell them Scott and Jill will take good care of them.
Awesome, man. So business is looking good now, finally, for some real estate.
Well, it's moving. It's still not. The problem is it's still inventory. Inventory is still a problem. So we have buyers. It's the houses. And that's becoming harder and harder. So things are still hot. Things are moving well. If you have a property that you're thinking about listing, but you want to make it better and better and better. The problem is this: we got this weird convergence happening between constantly increasing sale prices with increased interest rates. Mm-hmm. And neither situation is better to wait on, whether you're buying or selling. If you're buying a house, the longer you wait, your buying power. I just did a search. Interest rates are now over 5% for 30-year mortgages.
Wow, that's a big jump.
Big jump. It was just 3.5% like 2-3 months ago. Mm-hmm. So if you were looking at buying just something, let's say the average price is around this area, like $300,000, but let's say you're looking at $185,000 house. If you were approved for that 3 months ago, your mortgage payment would be $160 more today just from the interest rate hike.
Wow.
From 3 months ago for a $185,000 mortgage. So if you were maxing out what your monthly payment could be, you would now have to get like $150,000 house to have the same monthly payment. So you're losing buying power the longer you wait. Mm-hmm. And originally they were projecting 3 interest rate hikes this year. We've gone through 2 of them, I think. I just read yesterday they might be doing 5 total interest rate hikes this year. So if that's true, we're going to keep seeing it going up and up. Now, historically speaking, 5% is still low. I mean, it can get much higher. Our parents growing up, when they had their first houses in the 70s and 80s, interest rates were above 15% for a lot of them. So, we are still historically at a low, but it does affect your buying power. Yeah. So interest rates going up are causing you to be able to afford less and less house, but then the houses themselves are going up. So the house that was $185,000 3 months ago is probably selling for $190,000 today. Like, it is going up that rapidly. So that's what you got to take into account. And then on the sell side, the longer you wait, it's not necessarily good either, because your buyer pool might be shrinking, the number of potential buyers, because now they're having to go to a lower price point to buy the same house. So you might be getting less of a buyer pool, and a less of a buyer pool equals less chance of bidding wars. So these are all the types of things that go into play here. So give us a call. We'll review your situation, your finances, your credits, all that stuff, and just help you come up with a game plan for what works best for you.
It's awesome.
Yeah.
Well, hey, I wanted to start off also with a update on Macabre Volume 1.
Just a poor boy, nobody loves me.
Well, not enough love you yet, but we need some more backers. We've got we're at 1638. We're looking to get $2,000 for the minimum goal here, so we can get this book published. The book's done. I mean, that's the one thing we can stress. The book's done. The extra story's done. The files are ready, and as soon as we get this finished up, we want to send it off so Kevin get it printed and ready to go. I know we just come through Easter, and sometimes that's kind of a rough time for people thinking, but you're not going to get charged until the Kickstarter ends. So keep that in mind too. You don't have to pay today, but in 2 weeks or so. So the goal has to be reached by 7:30 p.m. Tuesday, May 3rd. So that is when the project will end. So just under 2 weeks. So keep that in mind. It's a great, I mean, we've all enjoyed working on it. Scott's done a few covers. I did a story in the, what was issue 2, but it'll be included in volume 1 here. So just a great collection of the post stories with a modern twist. So definitely check that out. So join in the fun. And there's some great new rewards added in. In terms of pledges, there's a $17 standard pledge for the soft covers. So you can get the Zambelli cover or the minor cover. And then there's the $35 or more for the hardcovers. Hardcovers look really sweet. There's the Zambelli hardcover as well as the Lee hardcover.
Were you able to see the hardcovers in person this last weekend?
I have not seen them in person, no. The other thing that got added on here was we had some graded comics. I didn't see those in person either. They got delivered. And we were so late on Sunday dropping Kevin off that we just kind of dropped him off, bathroom break, and hit the road so I can get home. I still get home to 11:30. But these are the standard edition hardcover right there. Scott's cover. This is a great cover. I love this cover here. It's a lot of fun. It was part of the issue 3 series that came out. And then this is the exclusive Kickstarter hardcover. And the beauty of this is both of them, the standard hardcover edition will be around afterwards, but the exclusive is very limited. It's going to be very few printed beyond what we do through the Kickstarter compared to what the continue on one will be available after that. But so definitely check this out. I recommend getting them both if you like hardcovers, or getting both the variants on the soft cover if you like soft covers. Because the standard cover will be one continue on in soft cover, where the one that's just like the hardcover is a Kickstarter exclusive. So keep that in mind too. And then there's some original art available. He will kill you. Kevin will kill you. That's part of sketch covers.
I kill you.
Yes. The pins, which I've of course seen the pins, and I did get my set that I ordered to keep for my personal collection side. But the pins are always awesome. Look great. He's got those ready to go too. And then let me scroll down here. Here we go. Add-ons. This is one thing I think is important too, as I told people, is like the add-ons. You can get the digital copies here. So I can get a digital copy of Volume 1 for $8. And if you want that aspect too, besides the physical copy you get, it's a great way to continue rereading it, so you don't go through and bend your book up if you don't want to. If you like to keep them more pristine. And then there's the other add-ons there. And let's look and see. Here they go. Yes, $160. Check it out. 9.8 limited edition issue 1 of Macabre. This was edition number 7 of 25. So there was only 25 of them done. This is the only one graded right now that I believe. And so that is a $160 variant on that. So, and the 9.8 grading is fantastic. It's almost impossible to get a 10. Anytime I see a 10 on these, there's something very pristine on those. It's like they literally almost took it off the printer. No human hands touched it and went right into the slab.
Yeah.
And then the other option is the other one for 9.8, $130. And this was the Kickstarter edition cover. And that one's signed by Kevin. So very cool. I think there's awesome additions to the Kickstarter if you're into collecting graded comics.
The other cool thing about these too is they're cataloged and registered. So
yes,
through the websites there. So it's an officially recorded, documented edition.
Yep. And one thing to keep in mind too is I believe Kevin said the prices you see on this Kickstarter, if you were to come to the show and buy them, we're going to be charging more for those that are available at the show. So keep that in mind. He's giving you a Kickstarter break for supporting the Kickstarter. So this $160 one expected to be probably 200 or more at the shows.
Yeah,
It'll definitely be
and
more.
they do sell well at shows. So
Yeah.
if you're not familiar with slab comics, you might be saying, "Wow, that's a high price." But it's just like anything when there's niche collector things. If you're not in the loop, you might, just like with sketch covers or sketch cards or these different things. For those who collect it, this is a really good price for this level of grading, 9.8.
Yeah.
That's near perfect.
Yeah. I mean, it's and with a, I mean, they've gone through and looked at every page meticulously, made sure everything looked good. And the 9 point means they found just something slightly askew, which is going to happen with any print run. Like I said,
Yeah, that could be just like where the staple like went into the binding, or a tiny, tiny, tiny little corner, or like it's a very minimal flaws.
Yeah. So, and then of course, for backers, we're looking for stretch goals here. $3,000, everybody gets a double-sided bookmark. $4,000, you get the Andy Lee mini print. $5,000 die cut post stickers. If we get 100 backers, everybody gets a 5x7. This is a pretty good size print for the Scott Zambelli. Basically, the undocumented one, so or unscribbled or whatever you want to call it. Doesn't have any logos and crap like that. And if we get 150 backers, it would be great. But we're not going to worry about that until we can get past the 100. So check out the Kickstarter, support it if you can. I think it's a great read. Enjoyed working on it. Enjoyed writing the story I did in issue 2. And when we get ready to do volume 2, Scott and I will be involved with that as well.
Yeah, so it's only $362 away from the minimum goal, so we can hit that. It'll be you guys are awesome who support us, and as we always say, if you already backed it, the biggest way you can support us is keep sharing those links. Let people know that Bardstone has another one. James has been awesome. He's a super backer of ours.
Yeah,
he's supported everyone, and I always see him reposting the links and trying to spread the word. So, fans like that is what helps us to grow.
I saw James. So I guess I'll give a quick talk about Indiana Comic Con. I saw James's family to Indiana Comic Con over the weekend.
Yeah.
They were having a great time. Made sure to come by. Kevin and I were not next to each other at the show. We were in completely different areas within Artist Alley. It was a pretty big Artist Alley, a lot of artists. And so it's great to see him. Saw a few other people that have supported and sold, and a few people came by that bought from Kevin on the post stuff that I signed. So people seem to really be interested in that, and had a good time. Got to catch up with Vinny and Lisa from T-24. They're doing really good. Got to see Jay Brandt. He had brought his daughter along to help out. She's now in grad school in college for nursing, and so just moving along there. And so it's great to catch up with people. Saw Corey Smith. He was there with his artwork and having a great time. So it's just a lot of fun.
He brought his mom, didn't he?
She I guess lives in the area. She came out on Saturday, and so I got a chance to meet his mom. Real sweet. She was a real sweetheart. She was funny. I went over to meet her, and she's like, "Well, I tried to get him a coffee, and my mom told me this. She remembered too, and she didn't have any cash with her. She didn't want to, or no, she didn't have any cards. She brought some cash with her, but she didn't want to bring her credit cards because she was worried about them losing them or something. And so I said, no problem. So I went and got Corey a coffee. And but I thought it was kind of funny. The whole convention center went completely cashless, so you have to have a card. Now with that though, they do have machines that you can go and put your cash in to get a debit card that you can use there.
Yeah.
So
basically, we're switching to digital currency already. It's been
in the works. It's
in the works.
COVID
they're training us. They're training us to not use cash. Mm-hmm. Cash is actually unacceptable at a lot of places now, which is just ridiculous. But so phase 1 has been initiated, where it's just a matter of time before Facebook has banned you. You cannot use your cash for the next 24 hours.
Well, here's the thing with cash. If I had someone actually, I saw them get ticked at the store a few weeks back and talk about, you better save your cash for your cash. I just said, no, you need to go take your cash, go buy some gold and save that, because all you got there is just paper. And the minute the government says that paper is worthless, it's worthless.
Yeah.
So you need to invest in precious metals if you're that worried about having on hand currency.
Yeah.
That's going to be the next step on that. But we won't get to that today.
You know who else is cashless?
Yeah.
airplanes, and they are also
Yep.
less one other thing now.
Masks. Yes.
Masks.
Yeah.
Oh,
Federal
the
judge.
videos. Have you seen the videos of them announcing mid-flight, take off your
No.
mask? Oh, videos are popping up. The pilots would go on and say, "You are now free. Take off your mask." And one was the stewardess going down with the garbage singing, "Throw out your masks," and people throwing them out. And then you'd see like the few holdouts who absolutely refuse to be happy. They're sitting
Hey.
there all pissed that, the people around them are taking their masks off.
Well, all the major airlines a few weeks back had implored the government of the United States, the president, to drop the mask mandates. He decided to extend it yet again, and then a federal judge says he has overreached his powers. This
Yep.
is where we have to keep in mind that people say, well, when people keep telling me, well, the president should be allowed to do whatever. This is one of the things, and it has nothing to do with whether Democrat or Republican. No president, any party, should have the rights to do everything that goes against the will of the people or steps around our constitutional rights.
And especially the CDC does not have governing authority
Right.
and over the TSA or other groups too. So I'm glad to see the courts are catching up and finally putting a stop to this. It's just funny to see the reaction. I've seen news reporters post on Twitter, if you were on a flight that the mask mandate was canceled mid-flight and it made you feel unsafe, give us a call. We want to tell your story. So that's going to be the wave of the next stories.
There's enough people that have been complaining for a long time about there should be mask mandates no matter where you go and what you do, because they don't feel safe. If you don't feel safe, stay home. I've said this for 2 years. Stay home.
Stay home.
My thing is this is the I watch people wear masks, and guess what? Even the ones that say they're wearing it properly, you look, they have openings on the sides. You can still get a virus to go in there. Plus, the virus is small enough to go through the masks that are meant to protect you from mold.
Yeah.
So if your mask can't protect you from mold, you're definitely not protected from coronavirus or that. So.
And every 30 seconds, they're touching their face to pull up the mask, adjust it. You're touching your eyes. It can enter through your eyes. You're constantly touching here.
Yeah.
You've bypassed the mask altogether. So anyways, free at last.
Yep, at least that part's done. So, and I even seen where Disney World just finally announced they've dropped the mask mandate. They were one of the last theme park holdouts. So they've dropped it now. So Uber and Lyft have also dropped it. So it's
what's funny is the White House has said they're gonna try to fight this, but the White House itself has dropped the mask mandate for their own building.
Yeah.
Like the reporters all sit shoulder to shoulder. They don't have to wear the mask in the White House, but they want to force everyone else to still.
Yep. Again, like I said, I don't care whether you're Republican or Democrat.
Yeah.
These leaders have to remember they work for us, and we need to all get back on that. And they got to stop telling us what to do when we don't believe that's the right thing to do.
Yeah.
So. And I'm tired of hearing people quote science and can't prove anything by showing me any real scientific studies. So, hey.
So I want to real quick before we get into the meat of today's show.
Yep.
Have you ever seen the movie Hugo?
Yes, I love Hugo.
I never saw it. Last night, Jill's like, "Oh, you never seen it? We gotta watch it." It was really good.
It's a phenomenal movie, in my opinion, in terms of storytelling and history on filmmaking.
Yeah, it's historical fiction in that the main character Hugo is fictitious, but the facts around the filmmaking is historical. Mm-hmm. And I really liked it. It was made by Martin Scorsese, which, like, this is a review by Roger Ebert back in 2011 on it, but it was really good. I think they blew the marketing on this film because it turned out to be nothing what I ever thought it was based upon the marketing.
Marketing is everything. And there's been several films over the years that you end up watching when it doesn't do well in the box office. Oh, it had to have sucked. It didn't do well. And you watch it like, this was good. And you look at the marketing. Marketing was bad. Yeah. I mean, this is a film that is not easily, it's hard. How do you market something like this exactly right is I think a little difficult. But again, historical fiction is always a great way to put this. It's a fantasy film.
Yeah.
And for me as a film buff, someone who loves cinema, loves filmmaking, to see them talk about, and a lot of those films that they talk about that were made are long gone. I mean, this follows. I'm blanking on his name right off the top of my head, but uh,
George Mayes
yeah, and he
Melways.
was French filmmaker, and he basically created the first science fiction films and fantasy films. They were all
Yeah.
shorts, and they included color. And the way they did it was it was basically as a theater troupe is what they were,
Mhm.
and they
Well,
actually
he
afterwards
was
filming it.
professionally a magician to
Yes,
start
yeah,
in
and
real life, and he brought those magician skills to the film, which made he was basically the first science um, special effects film. You know,
right, and as he was, they took and actually hand colorized the
yeah,
film stock, and some films have been they found pieces here and there. Man in the Moon is the most famous one that they
yeah,
did, where basically it's the scientists and they get in the giant bullet basically and shoot themselves into the eye of the moon, and they
yep.
go and meet all these creatures and all this stuff. I recommend it. It's I know it's streaming, I believe, on Prime and Netflix
Uh,
now.
I think we saw it. Was it Netflix? Yeah, I think I forget now.
Yeah.
We watched it on one of the streamers last night, but I was very impressed with it. It was very good, and the star power is huge in this movie.
Hmm.
It's just packed with, and Christopher Lee's in it. Borat, what is his name? Sasha
Sacha
um,
Baron Cohen.
Baron Cohen's
Who
in
actually I
it.
was really good. See, I don't care for his characters he creates. I don't care for the Borats. I don't care for
Right.
the dictators, all that stuff. But as an actor, he's a good actor. And in this, he
Mhm.
was fantastic because he plays a bad guy who's definitely almost a cartoonish villain in some ways.
Yeah,
Uh,
well, and he's just doing his job. He's the security guard.
right,
and
right.
and he has a broken past, and he himself is broken, and it turns out he has a lot in common in that he was also an orphan and stuff, but I don't want to give away stuff. But anyways, Ben Kingsley
Hmm.
is in it. He plays I forget how they say it. It's Jorge whatever it was, I don't
Yeah.
know. However you say his name in the movie. They give it a French twist, but it was really good. So that was my surprise last night of like, oh, wasn't expecting this. The problem
Yeah.
was when this movie came out, I think they were trying for the Harry Potter feel because of the success of Harry Potter. And so the marketing always made me feel like this was going to be like a Harry Potter wannabe. And it
Yes.
has nothing to do with that. It's nothing along those lines at all.
No. It's a magical film, but it doesn't have actual
No
magic.
magic. Yeah.
It's about a young person learning about filmmaking, learning about this magician basically, and he's basically an orphan who's been surviving in this train station, and so I definitely recommend it.
Yeah.
I've always thought it was wonderful. I've watched it several times over the years. I own it on Blu-ray and all that. So definitely a film I would recommend highly too.
Yeah.
So
And Roger Ebert gave it 4 stars, as you can
yep.
see there.
Yeah,
So
very well written. Acting's fantastic. I don't think you can go wrong with this. So,
yeah,
and
it's
it's
a pleasant
it's
surprise.
good for all ages. It's an all age film. So, and all that. I
Yeah.
did get a chance though for myself. I on Monday after I worked Monday, and then when I got home that night, I was able to finally to watch The Batman on HBO Max.
Oh, that was your first time seeing it?
Yes, I did not have a chance to go see it in the theaters,
Ah,
just because
okay.
of
I
scheduling stuff like
want to
that.
let me pull it up here so we have it as a screen.
Yeah.
I'd love to hear your review of it.
Well, I of course have not been thrilled about wanting to see this in the first place. As much as I love
Mhm.
Batman, I just I'm not crazy about Robert Pattinson in the role, and that was something that was really holding me back, as well as the fact that just the way it looked, I was like, okay, I didn't. People rave about the Joker, and I watched the Joker and didn't care for it, so I'm like, okay, is this gonna be along that lines? I was pleasantly surprised. I found I really liked this film.
Yeah.
My biggest drawback, but it's not so, but it made sense when I'm really watching this film on it is the Bruce Wayne side of the character. Um, what they did basically was we've got the Batman's established himself. He's been around. They talk about that from the beginning, of course, and that. But when we do see him as Bruce Wayne, he's very emo in that. But it's been mentioned. They mentioned it several times. He's a recluse. He's as a 20-something. He's not the playboy billionaire. Bruce Wayne. He is the recluse. I've only been trained for a few years now out in the world doing this. They definitely went with a very different look on Riddler, Penguin, Catwoman. Zoe was fantastic. Zoe
Yep.
Kravitz, liked her a lot. You forget that Colin Farrell is the Penguin. He did a great job in
Oh
that.
yeah. Yeah.
And then for the Riddler, he was good. I mean, it made they did a lot of riddles through the thing.
Yeah.
I really enjoyed it, and it's actually I was surprised when I got done with it, going thinking, you know what, I'll definitely watch this again sometime.
Mhm.
Um,
I actually
but
just rewatched it myself.
mhm,
So for me, I'm curious your take on this. For me, the problem with the movie is the last 25 minutes. I thought the movie was great up to that point. The whole rescuing inside of the garden, the Madison Square
mhm.
Gardens thing, to me, that should have been Jim Gordon that doing that part of where he's leading the people out to safety. That would show how he builds rapport with these people and elevates his career to become the next commissioner down the road.
Mhm.
The whole view of Batman like holding up this flare and going through the wall. It's just, and I don't know. I didn't like that part at all.
Mhm.
I felt that should have been Gordon's part. And then them all trapped, like, oh my god, we can't get out. Only Batman can save us. And he moves one piece of he moves one little door thing out of the way, and they all come out. It's like you guys couldn't have done that. Like he just moves
Well,
this one little thing, and then they all finally come free. They were all gonna die otherwise.
I think the whole point of that last half hour wasn't that particular scene, and that could have been done by Jordan. It was too much of like we got to have Batman doing everything,
Yeah.
but it was more to showcase him uh, with all the wannabe Riddlers uh,
Mm-hmm.
whooping on him, and then a little action threw in more action. Considering the fact that a majority of this movie is a detective story, and that's what makes
Mm-hmm.
it really brilliant. Is the fact
Yeah.
that we see Batman as the detective that we hadn't really
Yeah.
seen in quite a while, because there wasn't. I mean, the movies since in the last 30 years have not been about Batman as a detective. It's been
Yeah.
Batman as a superhero, and this brought back a little bit of that detective where he's actually looking
Definitely.
into it,
Oh yeah, that
and
part I
that
loved.
and I love that stuff. And then I believe it's also this is again where Warner Brothers as a studio comes in and said,
Yeah.
this is great, but we need a good action sequence at the end,
Yeah.
and Batman needs to look more heroic.
Well,
So I
that
think
part
that's
I
where that
didn't
last part
mind.
comes in.
The
So
fight scene was fine. That part I
no,
didn't
I know
mind.
that. I'm not
But
saying that it
I
wasn't bad.
think he should have also ended it on a questionable note with the Riddler, where because now there's all these Riddlers.
Mhm.
How do we know he caught the true Riddler? Like I think it would have been good to leave it on a suspenseful note of like, did he catch the real one or not? I think that would have been a cool little twist to like a final riddle where he's like, I don't know if I got the right one. So it's just that part I was but
And see, I wouldn't like that if he didn't get it. I'm like, okay, so they're just leaving it open for another movie, and they're going to drag out another 2.5 hours for us to figure out who the next Riddler is. Now, what to me, they caught the right Riddler, but now they've set up the next phase of the Batman, which is incorporating the Joker. See, and the Riddler, in a lot of ways, the last 35 years of between video games, comics, stuff like
Mhm.
that, the Riddler kind of flows in and out. He's been
Yeah,
a more of a constant chaos than even the Joker has.
yeah,
Well, now he thinks he's lost. It didn't go the way he
yeah.
wanted. He's because his plan, similar to other versions of Riddler, has been he really thought that him and the Batman would join forces. And
Mhm.
that's kind of where Riddler's been kind of weird in some of these incarnations where he wants to join forces with the Batman, but he wants the Batman to be what
Oh
eventually the
yeah,
Joker's going to be. And with seeing the Joker there at the end, that's kind of I think where we're going to see that. So I mean, I think he got the right Joker or right Riddler,
oh yeah,
and I think in a lot of ways he meant it to be that way. But in some ways, the Riddler thought him and Batman would be basically together there, watching the
right.
world explode around them, and
Yeah,
that was his ultimate plan. But
I just didn't like the whole beacon of hope thing. It didn't fit with this. I didn't think, and who Batman should be. It was just too. He's like almost that's Superman's role to be that symbol.
Mhm.
Like they spend the whole time talking about he's the knight and all this and vengeance. And I understand the shift they're trying to make. He's growing as a superhero where his mentality, his aim is different. But I don't know. Him leading them through the water that way just looks so over the top cheesy to me. And then the ending was too drawn out with his goodbye to Catwoman. That's the only part I didn't like. Everything else I loved in the film. Oh, the other
Mhm.
part I thought was dumb. The whole thing, this big riddle of the a rat with wings.
Yeah.
Like seriously, Batman couldn't figure out that it's a bat. I think it's a penguin. I think it's a hawk. No, it's a bat.
Yeah.
Everyone knows a rodent with wings is a bat.
That I will give you that. The riddles were lacking in a lot of ways.
Yeah.
Um, I
At
think
least the
that
1965 Riddler was like like so it was cheesy, but on purpose. Like,
Well, and we talked about this
what's
before,
dangerous in
though.
a tree? And Robin's like, I know, it's a sparrow with machine gun.
So, yeah. Well, we talked about this before. The best Riddler is still from the video game, the
Definitely.
Arkham Knight, and
Definitely.
so the Arkham Asylum games. That would be the Riddler I'd love to see more than any of them. But as an overall movie, I didn't feel the ending was that bad in terms of like
Yeah.
I didn't feel the same way Scott did. I personally was fine with the thing they set up.
Yeah.
This relationship between them, which in the comics and everyone else, they've had the relationship between Selena Kyle and Batman. So I mean, there's a little drawn out, and a lot of it is still just watching this film. It's definitely they were going for more of an avant-garde filmmaking style. They wanted that
and I
almost
like that
auteur feeling on that. So
yeah, I just felt it was 25 minutes too long. I think they could have made it slightly better.
I think, and actually, to be honest with you, I think
car
some of the
chase scene
trimmings
was awesome.
Yeah, I think some of the trimming happening in the middle, more in the middle section of the movie, and not the ending as much, because they did spend a lot of time on some exposition. But I think they moved along.
How'd you like the Batmobile?
I thought that was pretty cool.
Yeah, they did a really good job with that. I wasn't sure what to expect out of that, but that car chase scene and the Penguin, the way Colin Farrell plays the Penguin is just so perfect.
Yeah, I was wondering if I didn't realize we were going to see the car until it showed up, because I was like, I didn't remember ever seeing it on ads. But I mean, he was on the motorcycle a lot, and that. So I like the fact that what we're seeing was, he's got all kinds of money, but the stuff he's doing, he's built up in armor, stuff like that. Nothing is like flashy, like, hey, this is a billionaire back in. Although Selena Kyle does call him out, saying you must be backed by a billionaire or something, but and things like that.
But everything they do in this movie is actual practical stuff.
Yeah, it was a little more practical.
It's
and then
not like shark repellent.
But of course, visually, the coloring here is the same type of coloring they use for Batman Begins. Yes. So I think they were mimicking that, and I said that before with the advertising. So it's kind of interesting to see how they do that. So I enjoyed it. It's on HBO Max to stream. If you're a subscriber, you can buy it digitally now, and I'm sure it'll be out on Blu-ray in the next month or so. Yeah, if you buy the physical copy. So
for me, if they come out with a sequel to this, I'll gladly watch it. If they don't, I won't be heartbroken though. I really enjoyed it though. I think this is a good.
I think I believe he signed a 3. I believe Pattinson signed like a 3 film contract. Usually they do, and I appreciate it. But I believe that we're going to see something announced in the next 6 to 8 months about them working on it.
Personally, though, I'm looking more forward to seeing Michael Keaton back in the upcoming movies here, which we'll have to talk about that briefly too. And Ezra Miller, what the heck is going on with him?
Yeah, well, he's been in that job for a long time. So
he just got arrested again.
Yeah, he's got some serious personal issues. He's probably got some kind of drug issues going on, and he's attacking people. So
he hit a woman with a chair in the head at a restaurant. I mean,
I'd be honest with him. He was fine, and we'll talk about Fantastic Beasts. He's fine and effective as creatives. He's been fine in some roles. I've never been thrilled with him, and they keep trying to elevate him up to this great star level, and. Yeah, he's just an oddball person that is out there causing problems. And if he's serious about his craft, then he needs to chill out and quit messing up.
So. Well, with the way Hollywood usually likes to cancel people, I'm wondering what their reaction to Ezra Miller will be. Talk about canceling people too. Then you got the Johnny Depp thing where I have you watched any of that?
No, I don't watch that crap.
It's been interesting. I think. Hearing what he's saying and stuff, that Amber Heard is
it's
she's going to lose.
It's come out from different sources for the longest time that she was the aggressor, she was the liar on a lot of this stuff, and so
not just that, she used them like in the case I was listening to yesterday. Like all of her freeloader artist friends, she brought along with her, and she got Johnny to give them like $1 million mansions to rent free to live in for like a year or two. He would just give free housing to all of them and all her friends, and they didn't appreciate it. And he was so giving to everybody in her circle. So it's interesting to hear in his words, and it's also interesting to hear what he's talking about. He's such a different person than you see as the celebrity. He even says he doesn't even like his name anymore. Because whenever he hears his name, Johnny or Johnny Depp, it's so associated with the brand. and not who he is. And he's like, as an actor, yeah, you can give me if the character is eloquent and speaks, 1,000 words, I can do that. He goes, but as me, I'm not that way. And you can tell he struggles with speaking. He's not,
He's very introverted, and
it's like painful
he's
for him to speak.
yeah, and there's a lot of people like that, and people always question like how can these actors do that? Well, acting is one thing. At that point, he can pretend to be another character and not be himself. But when he's got to be himself, and this is what we see, there's a lot of actors, and we kind of even talking on the show here over the years. Sometimes it's like we meet them as a person, they're kind of very dull. Well, it's because they haven't got a personality, and a lot of times they don't have personality. After spending all these years playing different roles, they forget who they are, or like he's saying, they just hate the sound of their own name. That's why some of these people, you never see them anywhere. They show up for some premiere stuff like that, and that's it. And most stuff they're doing is otherwise they want to buy these ranches in the middle of nowhere, so everybody leave them alone.
Well, and he talks about the price of fame, and he said, I'm not complaining, because they asked him a specific question about his lifestyle, and he said, no one can properly prepare themselves for what it is to be famous. He goes, a normal person will go somewhere, get a hotel, and enjoy their time there. He goes, when I go somewhere, I have to stay in the hotel room the entire time. He goes, I can't go out because it's just a scene if I do.
Yeah.
And so like he is like a prisoner wherever he goes because of who he is. And so, and even acting in front of a camera, you're in front of a small group of people when you act. You're just because you're in a million homes, you're not in front of a million people.
Right.
It doesn't mean you're a great public speaker and a great whatever wherever you go. Some actors are, but some are more like Johnny, where he is just extreme introvert. And they get into his upbringing, and it was a very abusive upbringing he had. Mm-hmm. And it sounds like Amber Heard kind of filled the role of how his mom was in his upbringing, where she just controlled him. And
all I know with her is the stuff you see about online and how much true is. It's always, you can always take anything with a grain of salt. But it came out like they don't want her back for the Aquaman movie. They said she's been difficult to work with on other sets, things like that. So I think it's going to come out, and it's a shame that this is going. And this also, I think, is showing that cancel culture needs to learn to get facts before they start canceling anybody.
Yeah, like Johnny Depp, he lost his role in the Fantastic Beasts series because of this.
Yep. He's lost literally millions of dollars in roles these last 4 years because of this.
Yeah,
and it's a shame because the people say, "Oh, we're hurting him, and he's got money, he's fine." That's not the point. You've also taken away the man's livelihood and what he does to, in his roles, as he loves doing those. And they're talking about trying to get rid of him entirely, saying he's a bad person, but the facts are now starting to come out, and I think they'll start backtracking on some of that.
Yeah. And well, we can kind of segue into this since
so
Johnny
just real quick though, he played Johnny
Grindelwald.
Played Grindelwald, and was it Mads
took over the role in this one
and was brilliant.
He was. But it's definitely a completely different take on the character too.
Yes.
Johnny's was intentionally, I think, a more over-the-top character, the way they had his hair, his look, everything. Whereas Mads was more of a down-to-earth, real-life character. So for me, the transition's pretty stark. I think he played it brilliantly, Mads, but he's a great actor. He plays these type of roles really well. But I think a big part of it is the writing. They changed the character to fit Mads' acting style. I don't think he would have done as well if they kept it the Johnny Depp version.
No, and a lot of times though with the Johnny Depp version, it's the things he adds that's not in the script that help create the character. Same thing with when you watch the Pirates of the Caribbean. A lot of his mannerisms, his takes, things like that are how
Johnny
he interprets it. It's how he is. I mean, he does the same thing with. I mean, it's sometimes it works like in Pirates of the Caribbean, and sometimes it doesn't, like in the Lone Ranger movie. Things like that. So I liked the way Mads portrayed Grindelwald through this whole thing. Definitely is a stark difference, and they didn't really fully explain the change. They just basically
went on.
They said, "This is it. This is what we're doing. This is who this Grindelwald is." His pictures were everywhere, all through the beginning, on all the posters and everything else. So you knew who it was right away. And then they showed him, and he still had the Grindelwald character still had the same deviousness, but now he's kind of become more wanted to become more politician like, is how I felt from the
Yeah.
beginning. Without, and I read zero spoilers on that, so I didn't know going in how the. And again, we're giving some spoilers here, guys. So sorry if you
Yeah.
haven't seen it yet, but we're going to talk a little bit into this. But he came across as definitely trying to be more. Yeah, I said more political, more wanting to be the leader and not just a instigator, which is how he kind of felt. I mean, they were always hunting him through the first two movies, and he always felt like he was an instigator of chaos,
Mhm.
and he changed directions, uh, and his way of taking over was kind of made evident through this whole thing. I mean, the Secrets of Dumbledore is definitely reveals a lot of his secrets, but we saw how Grindelwald definitely weaves through the whole thing.
Yeah. So how about so what's your review of Fantastic Beasts 3 here, Secrets of Dumbledore?
Now, I enjoyed it. I enjoyed the whole thing in terms of what it was. Uh, the problem with any of the Fantastic Beasts movies is, and I said this last night before I saw it with my friend, I said, I really think J.K. Rowling should have wrote novels of the story and not
Yeah.
screenplays. Now you'll notice in the credits for 3 that it said written by J.K.
Yep.
Rowling and Steve Kloves, based on a screenplay by J.K. Rowling. Steve Kloves actually has worked on all 3 Fantastic Beasts. They just wouldn't give him the credit because of the Writers Guild. The Writers Guild finally allowed them to give him the credit, and that's where the guilds suck. They play this game all the time with movies and that, where even on the Directors Guild was like, no, you can't have 2 directors, but we see it all the time. It's they did that to Robert Rodriguez and Frank Miller with Sin City. So that's why Robert Rodriguez told the Directors Guild, just like Lucas did back in the 70s, they can go F themselves. And, screw this, paying you guys money, and you kind of dictate what we can and cannot do creatively.
Right.
Steve Kloves has been involved with JK on all this, so she knows that. And I think it's even more evidence in this because he really did a lot. They had to do a lot of changes on 2 fronts on this movie. One was having a different actor to play Grindelwald. 2 was the actress who played Tina was stricken with COVID, and to a point of where she had serious ailments for a long time and was not going to be available to act through the whole movie.
Yeah.
That's why we only see her at the end. So they had to create a new character to replace all the Tina scenes, and they ended up putting a new little twist on the love story between Newt and Tina. And I kind of like how that played out, because I liked the fact that he was missing her through the whole thing. And because in the second one they tried to really push the whole Lestrange aspect from his brother and everything else, and where he fell in there, and he was actually past that, but it felt like they were trying to push that a little too much, so now they can get past all that again. This movie as a whole, though, to me is kind of what I expected out of the third movie, considering there's supposed to be 5, and I believe there will be 5. They're not going to not make those movies. I think they'll do 2 more movies, and then they're also looking at continuing to expand the Wizarding World, which is what this movies are supposed to do here.
Yeah, for me, it was okay. The movie, from the pure fan aspect of seeing Hogwarts, learning the backstory of Dumbledore, those kind of things, I really liked. I thought Mads did a great job. My issue goes back to we're now in the 3rd movie, and they still have not developed a core group of characters, like Newt and Tina, for instance. The first movie, I thought they did a perfect setup of that relationship. Second movie, most of the movie, she's mad at him and not talking to him because she thinks he's getting engaged to somebody else, and it turns out it's his brother. Then we finally get to the 3rd movie, and now, regardless of the circumstances, the fact is they don't develop the relationship once again. Then you have Queenie and that whole thing. That relationship is just fractured the entire time. Like the core character, this is the same mistake they made in the Star Wars sequels, the more recent one. They keep breaking up the core characters instead of letting it develop. Whereas the original Harry Potter, the core characters is what made it. That's what gave it heart. That's who you fell in love with. And the entire movie series, they get stronger and stronger and stronger as a group. And I think that's what they're missing in this is keep the group together and let them grow as a
Uh,
trio.
And see, and I saw more of that actually growth in this. I saw where you had the call to heroics, which is what happened with Jacob. Jacob was called to be a hero again. He
Mhm,
wanted out of the wizard world. He's like his heart's broken.
mhm,
He wanted Queen. He doesn't get her. She's gone. He's back there. His business is failing. It looks like.
mhm.
And then we introduced the new witch. Who comes in and basically says, "We need you, and they need your heart." And they showed that they had to bring him back up. So a lot of ways, this movie, Jacob was more of a hero than he had been before.
As an
And
individual, yes, I'm
yeah,
talking
no,
about
I'm not
the
finished here now. Yeah, I'm
relationships.
not finished here now. And with that coming into it, we saw him meet up with Newt. We saw their relationship, that they had a
Mhm,
friendly relationship, and from there, and then Dumbledore bringing this group together, it was setting up those pieces that probably should have been set up in the second movie,
mhm.
but they took and went a different direction for a while there to break everybody up to now bring this group back together. And I think Tina would have been a part of it, except for the
I agree on that.
railroads.
I think
And
Tina was
and by
intended to be in
and
it.
by the end of this, what we saw was, you had Queenie who went off and was like, she was seeing things differently, and part of it she's being manipulated because of her power.
Mhm,
And then Jacob, who of course would end up being heartbroken. So it was a lot of heartbreak at the end of the second one, where this one had to bring the heart back together, as well as the whole reason for this movie was not just revealing that Credence is a Dumbledore, that his father is Albaforth,
yeah,
Albus's brother.
yep,
It was also the fact that this blood oath, which had been mentioned before, the reason Dumbledore could never go against Grindelwald was because of the blood oath. So they broke everything apart through the first two movies to bring everybody together by the end of this movie,
mhm,
just to end that point. So the next two going forward is, and Newt even said it. He told Dumbledore. He said, "Look,
yeah,
he goes, I would have came forward and basically let him know, if you need me again, I will always be there." And that's where we're going to see him. I think we're
yeah,
going to see Jacob. We're going to see Tina and Queenie. That's going to be the core group there. It's going to come
yeah,
back and continue on forward. Again, I really feel that these movies were being done a disservice by J.K. The fact that if she had wrote novelizations to
yes,
truly expand upon stuff, and this would have been better. She had some good ideas, and
right,
I've watched some interviews where she talked about. She said they came to her and said, "Well, what's next?" And she goes, "Well, I have this stuff here," and she wanted, and I know what she's doing here. She's flexing her writing by saying, "I want to write the movies and not write books." So she's going about a different way about it, and I think she should have stuck with the novelizations more to
yeah,
expand more, because she's taking everything from her notes on characters that didn't make it into the Harry Potter stuff on their histories and trying to craft a screenplay from that, where she did a
mhm,
novelization to be better. Personally, I
yeah,
enjoyed it. Are these perfect? No, I try not to compare these to the Harry Potter films at all. They
yeah,
just have to be set in the wizarding world, and we saw
mm.
in this one too an expansion of that wizarding world in a way that we hadn't seen within Germany. And I'll be honest with you, we talked, and oh, did you catch the time frame of this movie at the beginning?
Uh, did they say a year?
Yes.
I didn't see the year, but I could tell the time frame by where things were with
Yeah.
Germany and all that.
The new witch with that recruits Jacob, she said, "Look, a year ago," and she went right back to the first film. So
Okay.
everything in these first three films is taking place over a year. I think what I would see the next film there will be a time jump.
Mhm.
Um, and then we'll see how everybody's established themselves, and then Grindelwald will be making his appearance. Because Grindelwald
Yeah.
hasn't gone away yet; he's just disappeared. So
Yeah.
now Dumbledore's going to have to start actually hunting
Yeah.
Grindelwald,
Yeah.
and
For
that'll lead
me,
to the final battle at the end of the fifth film.
I'm looking forward to where things go. Just for me, I just feel like the first movie felt like setup. And I don't know if this is true or not. This is just how it feels to me. Second movie, I felt like they were changing direction. So it ended up being set up again. Now, third film, I feel like they changed direction again and it felt like setup again. And I feel like we're finally going to get into the meat of the movie in the fourth movie I feel like they should have. I just feel like, to me, it felt like DC. I feel like Warner Brothers is sticking their hands in the pot and doing what they do with DC, where they keep changing direction based on where they think the winds are blowing. And I hope
Well,
that's not true, but I don't know.
I know with the first film, she wrote the first film, and they made the first film based on that, and then it was after production and the script was locked. They said, "Hey, we're going to give you a 5 movie deal now. So this is film one of 5." She was doing it as almost strictly just a one shot with a slight carryover. Well, I'll throw the Grindelwald in. Grindelwald's going to get
Yeah.
caught, and then we can, if we do something great, if not, it can kind of end there. If
Yeah.
we need to go a different direction. And they said, nope, this is what we want. They wanted 5 films. She says, okay. So now the second one was they had to start building the world more.
Right.
And to set up for this third one, which was to take care of everything with because when you go back to the first one, it's like I can't. He kept saying I can't move against Grindelwald. I can't move.
Yeah.
So they fully explained it. Which, if you've read any of the Pottermore stuff, you kind of knew. There's the blood oath. We knew that Dumbledore had loved him, and Grindelwald supposedly loved him, but I don't think Grindelwald. I think Grindelwald, just like Voldemort, loves himself more than anybody else, and wants the power and the control. And his whole thing was, they wanted to change the world, and his way of changing the world is destroying Muggles.
Now, what's interesting is reading comments online.
Mm-hmm.
I personally like the direction they're going, and I just hope that I'm done with setup. Time to get in the meat of the story.
I think that's what we'll see with the next 2 movies. Yeah. I think it'll definitely be a big cliffhanger from one movie to the next. But I think that they're definitely past the initial setup, and they can get into the heart of now. It's the Dumbledore versus Grindelwald moving that way.
Well, and I think it's really going to go the path of Grindelwald grooming Tom Riddle or something like that, because we got the timeline wise. He falls into that period of creating a Horcrux and everything before Grindelwald has his final duel with Dumbledore. But reading online, the people who they have a completely different view than us. They're not liking this direction, and they feel like Newt has become a secondary character, and this is now the Dumbledore Grindelwald series. So it was interesting reading their points of view. They feel misled. They feel like this was supposed to be all about how him studying Fantastic Beasts and all this stuff, and they feel like they've abandoned
in some way,
that.
They've got past that. But what they've done, what she's doing with this, with the calling it Fantastic Beasts, is every time we're seeing this, we're seeing a lot more creatures than we've seen before, and some different things, and how he handles that.
Yeah.
I think that it was Dumbledore kind of really through this whole thing just popped in and out. He was the I'm leading you here, leading you there, and Newt was kind of the leader of the team, and he set it up so that way Newt didn't have the case, because he they told you what was going to happen earlier on with the deception, basically the shell game. So I knew when Newt grabbed it, you could tell there's these cases around there, and as soon as Jacob goes to grab a case, Dumbledore's like, no. And so he grabs another one, and that's the one that Newt goes for, thinking, oh, Dumbledore left it for me to have my case. And I knew it had to be the assistant that she had it. Just because, and then we never saw her through the whole thing. She was like, she was hiding in the shadows the whole time, and then came out with a case where she needed, because of course that was her secret that nobody saw, that Newt gave her on the train ride. So, but I think what we're seeing here is the next film especially is going to center more on Newt and Albus Dumbledore. And it's almost I think we're going to see more of a buddy picture in some ways, a Sherlock Holmes, Watson style. We're going and Newt's going to be a big part of that. And
I agree.
So I think that's the next step.
I do.
And, and I think if it was just Newt as the hero, keep in mind, this is a character that he's a fantastic magician. He knows everything about every creature there ever was, and literally wrote the book on it that they now use in the classrooms. But as the instigator, he's not. It's always been Dumbledore's been instigating this whole thing and manipulating it along the way. And Newt, though, knows what's going on and allows it to happen, and that makes what makes him a hero in this. Is he knows what has to be done, but he wouldn't know to do it otherwise without Dumbledore. So I think it's definitely them together, and definitely it's going to move on from there. And I think we'll see a lot more of him, and then they'll bring in the other characters too, and they'll round out the cast a little more. So
yeah. Now, as regarding the Hogwarts side of things, it was Minerva McGonagall in there. Whoops. It was Minerva in there. But I find it interesting too, though. He's just a professor of transfiguration at this point.
Yeah, he is not the headmaster yet. He does not become headmaster for almost another 10 years.
Right. And I don't like that this is the much younger version of him, but he's already just as powerful and knowledgeable and everything. He's like, I wish they would show who the current headmaster is, and maybe Dumbledore even seeking advice from him, or because he shouldn't be as powerful as he is in his older age, I don't think. And I don't know.
I think he always has been, though. I think he's the Dumbledore family, of course, it's from everything they've always alluded through the Harry Potter stuff, and even this
Yeah.
now is it's got a rich history of basically just being very powerful
But
wizards.
he
And
had to have a mentor at some point.
he probably
Somebody.
he
Yeah.
probably did, and maybe that's something that she could explore down the road, but she's
Yeah.
never talked about that.
Yeah.
Um, I think what we see with him though in these roles is even though he's not the headmaster, it's the headmaster is kind of just a figurehead at this point and has been whoever it
Yeah.
is. And it's just like I ran into this even when I worked in jobs, when I was younger, as I was not the manager. Other employees came to me like I was the manager, because I
Right.
knew more than the manager.
Right.
So it's kind of a leadership role that he has,
Yeah.
and it's probably one of the things where it's always meant to. They know he's going to be the next step, but it was even commented throughout this whole thing. He's hiding out in Hogwarts. Well, Hogwarts itself is powerful magic and protections
Right.
around from all these other wizards and that. Um, but he kind of has his free reign, so he can do what he wants and go from there.
Yeah.
So, but I think it's always been more of a Dumbledore story
Yeah.
through this whole thing.
Well, overall, I agree with your assessment. I wish J.K. Rowling had written this as a series first
Yes.
and work out all the bugs. I feel like they're kind of going on the fly as they do this, and which is why to me it feels disjointed. It hasn't flowed smoothly, I don't think. Like I said, as far as a Wizarding World tale, I enjoy the backstory being created, but as a story itself, I don't feel it's flowing right. I feel like something's off
Yeah.
in the whole flow. And I don't know if that's the studio. I don't know if that's J.K. Rowling. I don't know if it's this other writer. I don't know the why, but the heart is missing from this.
I think a lot of it has to do with the fact that when you're writing a screenplay, it's just like writing comics. Is you can only tell so much story in the time frame you have. When you write a novelization, you can spend 10 pages on certain aspects of the story within descriptions and building and things like that that would be reduced down to about a minute of screen time, but you're able to incorporate better things. Where here she's kind of moving along at a different pace, and I think that's
Yeah.
where
But
like
also, like you said, the cutting down process.
Mhm.
The benefit they had with the Harry Potter movies was the novels were written. Well, not all of them, but the majority of them were written at the time that they were done. But she knew where the ending was with characters like Snape and all these things. So they knew what parts to cut out and keep.
Steve Close, who did the
because they knew where
screenplays,
it was going.
Yeah, Steve Close, who did the screenplays, always had access to the books, even when they weren't published yet, as they were coming along. So he was working hand in hand with her on stuff, and they knew which subplots to take out that work in a novel, but wouldn't necessarily work in a movie. But again, I think it's definitely I also think that she was lost in the fact that she wrote a screenplay and then was given more movies. So now she had to do 2 movies to really get it to the story where they would have done it in the first 2 initially if they planned out 5 movies ahead of time. So
I agree.
And her ultimate goal has always been to get to the final battle of Voldemort and Grindelwald. Will we see any tie into Riddle and any of that aspect? It remains to be seen. I mean, definitely it would take place during that time, but at the same time, it may be that Grindelwald does not have an influence on Riddle. It's just Riddle being, as he starts find out he's a wizard and coming in is a wholly different animal in itself. And evil is evil regardless, and doesn't always need a previous evil wizard mentor.
But I think Voldemort's vision of purebloods is so similar to Grindelwald's.
Yeah,
I
think
have to be.
I don't
there
think
has to be a connection.
Yeah, I would be surprised if Voldemort hadn't in his studies come across, especially being in Slytherin, people with writings from Grindelwald. This is what Grindelwald said. This was this and that.
Right.
And of course, Voldemort himself, being a half-blood, not being pure blood, actually goes against what Grindelwald said. But he was enough of a leader that he circumvented that. It's kind of like like I said, I really thought they were trying to parallel what was going on in the Wizarding World here with what was going on in Germany around the same time.
Yes.
And of course, being in Germany, it was an intentional, show like that, without them fully saying what was going on in the real world, in the non-Wizarding world.
Yeah. See, that's one of the parts these the people who aren't happy with the direction, they're complaining about how Germany's getting to be part of it. But the reality is, this is supposed to be taking place in our real world. We just don't see them.
Yes.
And so real world events should be shaping into the thing. So I personally like this aspect that they're working in. And I want to see, like, okay, the real world Battle of Britain. How did that? Hogwarts is there just under, they have some kind of dome of invisibility or something, so people don't see them. Well, all these planes carpet bombing the countryside, did it affect them? And what did they do? So I think it's an interesting aspect. And just like with Crimson Shadows, we're doing historical fiction. I like the angle they're taking to show how the bad wizards are influencing Germany during this time, and the whole pure blood mentality is bleeding into the human world and shaping their policy. So I think I personally am looking forward to seeing how this unfolds.
Yeah. And it's been said even through these Fantastic Beasts, and Newt pointed out, so this talk of pure is ridiculous because they've had to intermingle, and while the U.S. Magic community isn't allowed to marry a no-maj, he commented in that first movie how antiquated it was, for them to have that kind of thought process. And then even in this film, Grindelwald says, we got a witch here, and she would be with this, Muggle, and and the bastardization of it, this is how he's putting it, was ridiculous. And that's, they said there's a lot more, that needs to happen with these intermingle, because even they've said throughout the Harry Potter, if there isn't intermingle, it's going to happen. But of course, we found out too, when you see characters like Hermione, her parents are Muggles. There's no magical ability in it, but she ends up magic. So it's like she's never fully explained how magic comes about. But I think it's like almost like a vampire thing. It's like vampires happen, and then there's actually ones that have been around forever. So,
overall,
I enjoyed it.
How do you rate it?
I'd give it about a 7.5 out of 10.
Okay.
Is it a perfect film? No, not at all. There's definitely mistakes that were made, and things like that. And I think I'll still both said the same thing I keep saying all the time.
Yeah.
She should have wrote books ahead of time. I enjoyed it a lot. I will definitely look forward to seeing it again. I will definitely, not sure I'll see it again in the theaters. I don't do that as much as I used to, but once it comes out, I'll definitely pick it up and watch it again. I've already ordered, it won't come out to July, the hardcover novelization, which is not, it's just the screenplay, but I like reading through those, because I saw in the first two, going through the couple scenes here and there that were changed or edited and stuff like that. So, or didn't make it into the final thing, because it was the final script before they actually go into shooting. So look forward to kind of taking a look at that, because I enjoy also looking at scripting. So that's my filmmaking aspect of who I am. So, but for me, I definitely enjoyed it. So
for me, I gave it a 6.5, 7. As far as the Fantastic Beasts movies go, I think the first one is still my favorite. I think the third is probably my second, and then the second is probably my third. I enjoy them enough to watch once. It's not like the Harry Potter series. Like, I'm re-binging the original ones right now. I can watch that over and over again. The Fantastic Beasts series, if it's on, I'll watch it, but I won't intentionally be like, oh, I want to make time to watch this. I like them enough to see them once. Second viewings will be just if I'm bored and they happen to be on. So, like I said, the Harry Potter, I can watch that forever.
Harry Potter films to me are like the original Star Wars trilogy. I can watch them anytime. Never a problem. Fantastic Beasts, I enjoy them. Sometimes, once in a while, I will want to watch them. Again, if I come across them, I may watch them if they're on TV. But I haven't made too much time to constantly go back and revisit them. I did prior to seeing this, because I wanted to remind myself some things. I'm glad I did.
That's what I did. I watched the second one again.
And I still enjoyed them for what they were, but I probably won't see them again for quite a while. Where Harry Potter, I mean, I can flip through. Oh, Harry Potter and whatever's on. I'll just, and I can jump in anywhere in those and be just fine, because I enjoyed that. But with the Fantasy Beasts, the fact that it's kind of like, even with Star Wars, it's like, okay, hey, we're getting Star Wars. Yeah, I don't want Rian Johnson to do them, but I got Star Wars, so I watched it. And with the Fantasy Beasts, like, oh, we got Wizarding World stuff. I want to see that. I enjoy that aspect, and we're seeing some different aspects of the Wizarding World we never saw before. But I highly recommend, if you're a fan of Harry Potter and enjoy the Fantastic Beasts, go see this movie in the theater. It's made almost 200 million worldwide, so it's made back its budget.
I almost think with the density of stories she's telling, this will be the last point I make. Then we'll just very quick talk Moon Knight very fast. I think with the density of stories she's trying to tell, it would have been better as a series on streaming. I think this would have been a better, like, 8-episode multi-season series on HBO Max. Why does this keep falling? Why does this keep falling? My camera's drunk.
And there's been all this speculation since this came out on how bad the movie's done. It's done quite a bit less here. It's done 150 million worldwide outside of the U.S. and Canada, and 45 million here domestically. It's going to make its money. It's not going to be the $1 billion movie. Part of it too is people are still reserved. I mean, movie theaters they're either packed because it's a movie that everybody's been clamoring for, or this, I think, because of the time frame, people just haven't clamored for as much. And again, they probably feel the same way you and I do with some of the writing. In fact, it's not a Harry Potter and that, so it confuses some people. But we'll see. I think it's gonna be just fine, and we'll get 2 more movies. But there's been all this other talk. I think we'll see them do something different within the Wizarding World as they wrap these up, and we might see some series. And I've said it before. I mean, they've talked to Daniel and them about all of them coming back to do like a Cursed Child movie, and at this point in time they all keep saying no. And will money win out? Maybe. But at the same time, Daniel Radcliffe is now seeing a resurgence playing a bad guy in movies and seeing different take on him, and I think he's been spending the last 15 years trying to break the mold of Harry Potter.
I think they will come back, but I don't think it'll be for like 20 more years. They'll be much later in life where they're going to be looking back on the career, just like with the Star Wars ones. And actually, Daniel Radcliffe even referenced them. He goes, it took them 40 years to go back to these roles.
Yeah.
You're at a different stage in your career where you're no longer are trying to break free from certain casting decisions and things like that. Well, you don't have to worry about that. So
I think we see anything between now and then of anything Harry Potter. I would see them do something that's been speculated before, is them do it as a TV series where they can actually go in depth in the books, we all new cast, and go from there. Or I could see her just trying to write something completely different. She's got other eras she can explore and other realms now that she's set up that they could try to develop there. But we'll see.
Yep.
So hey, Moon Knight.
Just real fast. Episode 3 was last week. I don't think we really got to get into deep details here. Episode 4 was today. I enjoyed it. It's interesting to see where their direction is. Did you watch this morning?
I did.
Were you laughing at the very end?
Yeah. They're definitely going very meta on this thing. So
so we'll see where it goes. But it's Moon Knight so far. I'm liking the direction. I'm enjoying it. The last 2, I think the payoff is coming. So I'm willing to stay with it and see where it goes.
Yeah, it's been fun. It's not going to be, and definitely this week, if you're looking for a lot of the character Moon Knight, that's my spoiler for this week, is you're not going to see a lot of the actual character of Moon Knight. This is dealing with the people within themselves. And today's episode felt very much like a spinoff of The Mummy.
Yes. Yes.
Which is tying into more and more of this stuff. And one thing I think is tying into, did you see the trailer for Thor?
Oh my gosh, that is so good. Should we play it?
Yeah, let's play that real quick. Yeah, we're going over today, guys. Sorry.
I was very happy with that. Let's see.
Yeah, and we get in this trailer, you're going to see they're tying in the Norse gods, the Egyptian gods. We're getting some Greek gods. So they're bringing all the different gods of these different realms together now, and I think through between Moon Knight and Thor and all that. So
let's see. I'm trying to get it through the ad. Oh, come on. No thing. Now it's trying to get me to do the subscription. Okay, I'm at the beginning. Okay, let's share that. All right, here it goes.
These hands were once used for battle. Now they're but humble tools for peace. I need to figure out exactly.
I love the music choice on this.
Yeah. I love the transition they did. It was perfect. So here we see how Thor is getting in shape.
I'm going to choose my own path. My superheroing days are over. She's got a smile that it seems to be.
It's got a very Thor Ragnarok feel.
Yep. Zeus.
Remember what I told you. You ever feel lost? Just look into the eyes of the people that you love. Me? What? Just listening.
Here we go. I'll pause it there.
Yep.
So that's the money shot there. So Jane as Thor, she's got the power of Thor.
But which Jane are we getting?
See, now that's people have been saying that, but I think that's our Jane because she has the broken Mjolnir.
Yeah.
And though that was done on Earth, Hela shattered it on Earth, our
Yeah.
Earth. And so my speculation is Thor has said to Jane in the past that magic and science are one of the same in their realm. She's a scientist.
Yep.
So I have a feeling she used science to put the hammer back together, which then granted her the powers.
Right.
So I think it's our Jane.
I think so. I've always thought I think I was speculating too much. I think it's this movie looks great. One thing that's cracking me up though is how much crap people are giving Chris Pratt trying to say he's homophobic and all this stuff. I'm going, just shut up. You know, this whole thing is hilarious on that, and Thor is just being Thor at this point. At this point, it looks like he's half drunk anyway. So
Yeah. So I really look forward to this. I like this trailer. Natalie Portman looks awesome there.
Yeah,
looks
she's
like she
bulked
put
up.
some working out in.
yeah, she's like I got the guns. You know? I'm looking forward to this a lot. This is going to be a lot of fun. I think it's going to be as fun as Ragnarok.
Yep. Someone
that's
pointed
great.
out though this summer we have almost the reunion through Disney of the prequels for Star Wars. We have Hayden returning as Darth Vader. We got Padme coming here as Thor, and then we have Ewan McGregor as Obi-Wan. So we got all three of them up on the Disney screen, separate movies. But...
Yeah, we got a lot of cool stuff. We've got Doctor Strange in 2 weeks from tomorrow. I'll be seeing that on Thursday
Looking
night
forward to
preview.
that.
And then we got in July is when we get Thor, and both are looking really good. This just looks like it's gonna be a blast, and everything with this is going to tie into the next Guardians of the Galaxy, which will come out next year, Volume 3, which will be the last Guardians of the Galaxy. They said, I'm excited for it. I think it's gonna be a lot of fun. I'm excited to see the different realms that Thor is going through here. Between Zeus and everything else, and then all the different worlds, and so it's gonna be. I think it's gonna be just a fun. And I believe it was Taiki Waititi is doing it again. So
Yep.
So he brings a lot to it.
Yeah. So I'm looking forward to this. I love the feel and everything of this. It captures Thor perfectly.
Yep.
And and Chris Hemsworth's on record saying he's going to play this as long as they'll let him. So
yeah, that's something I like. It's just like Hugh Jackman said, hey, you want me to be Wolverine? It's fine. If you want a 60-year-old Wolverine, I'll be a 60-year-old Wolverine. But they all know that a lot of what they have now for successes come from these movies, and they're willing to keep giving back to them. So
yep,
I'm excited for it. Can't wait to see it.
Can't wait. Good
Cool
stuff.
Hey, I think we covered a lot of fun stuff today. I hope everybody enjoys. Check out some Moon Knight. We'll talk a little more about that next week. And then tonight, 7 p.m., join us. We'll do about a half-hour update. If Kevin can join us, we will. He's out of town for work. He'll try to join us at 7. We'll give an update on the Kickstarter. So make sure you go and bardstone.com and click on the Kickstarter link, and we'll get you guys some books out that way too. So until next time, bye.